Good morning and welcome to Mornings on Main Street for this Friday, April 7th. I'm your host, Stefanie Miller. Happy Friday to you guys. Hope you're getting off to a great start this morning. It is Easter weekend. Coming up on today's show, this is what we have in store for you. Reporter Chris Yao takes us behind the apron to Lime and Loaf in Columbia, Tennessee. He talks with Chef Carla to let us in on some classes that she is hosting and what else there is happening there at Lime and Loaf. I really want to visit this location. After that, we get introduced to Pastor Derrick Jackson of First Baptist Gallatin. Devon O'Day and John Dwyer talked with Pastor Jackson during Taste of Nashville. We get to share their segment with you today. And then we round out today talking about finances, how to talk to your kids about financial matters. We have Ben Smith from Northwestern Mutual. He is a financial advisor. He shares some great ways that you can talk with your kids about money. But first, let's get a check of our headlines. God or fate that put him in the place to respond quickly. Words from one of the Metro Nashville police officers who responded to the Covenant school shooting last week. Visit MainStreetNashville.com for the full story by reporter Ashley Perham from when 4 of the officers addressed media Tuesday about their role in the shooting response. Now, in the second sentence, she writes that the officers were somber and still seem to be wrestling with what they saw that day. Read much more from the incredible officers by going to MainStreetNashville.com. And then there is another beautiful story at the HendersonvilleStandard.com that is a must read for all of us. 3 friends at Hendersonville High School spent several months designing and constructing a functional prosthesis for their friend and fellow student who was born without a right hand. Now, according to the article, this friend's life has been changed for the better with his new hand. He is gaining confidence and believing in himself. Read more about this by going to HendersonvilleStandard.com. And we're not done with amazing stories. This is Cheatham County World War II veteran Arnold Simpkins, a soldier and a patriot, and one of those, as well as those who served with him, to be a part of the greatest generation. Now, Simpkins was recently honored by the members of Veterans of Foreign Wars post 6181. Simpkins reflected on what it meant to be a soldier, what it meant to serve one's country, and then the lessons that he learned in the process. Read more about his story and the worlds from this World War II veteran, Mr. Arnold Simpkins, by going to CheathamCountyExchange.com. So many great stories in our papers this week. Again, head over to our website, MainStreetMediaTN.com, to be connected with all of our papers. Okay, it is Easter weekend. It's going to be a big time for all the families out there, really for all of us who have plans outdoors. Let's get a check of the forecast for the rest of today and what we can expect throughout the weekend by turning to Tennessee Valley weather.
Fred Gossett here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center with your Friday forecast update. Looking wet out there at times today. Here's the latest Futurecast update showing rain overspreading portions of middle Tennessee this morning. That tries to lighten up as we head through the morning hours, but it picks back up into the afternoon. Maybe a rumble or two of thunder, but no severe storms expected. Rain continues into the evening and the overnight hours before it tapers off as we head later into the overnight and things start to shift south with time. Going into Saturday morning, we do start to dry out, which is good for the Easter weekend plans here. You may be able to get those egg hunts in on Saturday. The ground's going to be wet. Maybe a sprinkle going into Saturday, but no widespread rain. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Saturday, we're leaning away from the showers as we get into the afternoon. Morning showers possible after a wet Friday. And then for your Easter Sunday, itself partly cloudy and warmer, dry. Highs in the upper 60s. We warm to the mid 70s. By the middle of next week before more showers approach as we head toward Thursday of next week. There's a look at your latest 7-day forecast right here from the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel.
Well, thank you. Now we get to hear from reporter Chris Yao as he takes us behind the apron to introduce us to Chef Carla from Lime and Loaf. There's a lot of great things going on at this restaurant. Chris Yao has more.
Welcome to downtown Columbia. I am here at Lime and Loaf right here off of the busiest street in all of Columbia right now. It's South Garden Street. We're going to tell you about some of the coolest stuff going on in Columbia here and in southern Middle Tennessee. And today I'm joined by Chef Carla Peluso, who is doing classes here at Lyman Loaf and so much more. We're excited to talk to her as we go behind the apron. Carla, welcome. Thanks for taking some time with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your history, your background. What got you into wanting to cook?
Oh, wow. Well, I really didn't cook much growing up. It wasn't something I did on the regular in my family. But as I kind of started having children and being home more, and Food Network kind of was like a new thing, I got excited about it. And I thought, I'm going to give this a go. And I learned I had a knack and a desire. And so I found a local chef-owned restaurant and asked him to train me and was under him. And it was an incredible experience.
That is phenomenal.
Yes.
Most people, it's like, I've been doing this since I was 5. But not you. No, you're like, hey, let's do something new as an adult.
Yes, I'm very jack of all trades in a lot of ways. So
I would have never guessed that, because you do seem like you have such an experienced, business. You have an experienced hand in doing this. So that really shocks me. And that's why I love doing this, because I learn new things about people all the time. But so as you learned, and as a mom and as a parent, you kind of learn to cook in a certain way. You've got to cook with kids around. You've got to cook for kids. Does that kind of impact your style?
that's a great question. Yeah, I'm very adaptive. So whatever kind of situation I'm in, like I'm getting ready to do sort of a fine dining 4-course meal tomorrow night. So that's going to be, a little higher end. And I love that. I can be very creative. But then I also really love teaching. So I kind of got into that about 2016. And I started with teaching kids, and I really love it. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I love the experience of just getting in the zone and getting it out the door and making someone happy when they take their first bite. And I also love the experience of bringing someone into the creative process and teaching them and showing them how it's done and sort of demystifying dishes and the experience.
So that's why we're here, because you do teach classes in this space. It's a fantastic space. There's plenty of seating, and everyone can kind of see what you're doing. It's very open. So why teaching? Why is that important to you?
Oh, I don't know. There's something about watching someone come in and they're nervous, or they don't like certain foods, or they don't think they can do something, and just giving them the encouragement, the tools, the training, and watching them like create something with their own hands, and that excitement. And I love watching that process happen.
And especially with kids, that has to be unique.
It is. Kids are so great. They have so little ego, so they just really jump in. But I got to say, a lot of times the folks that come into these classes that are mostly adults, they have sort of a childlike whimsy when I kind of get them back here and we start playing with the food and just talking through it. And I love it. Love it all.
Well, it's working out. You are doing classes here on a regular basis, and you can find her with Chef Carla on Facebook. That is the best way to find that information.
Yes, or Instagram also with Chef Carla. Mm-hmm.
Well, again, what are some of the things that you are teaching here? What are some of the classes that you teach?
Sure. Well, coming up this week, actually, we're going to do a flavors of Greece. So we're going to I've kind of been doing certain regions. And then we have a Fun with Sushi coming up next month. So that'll be really fun. That'll be some knife skills, but we're really just kind of, just picking different things to put inside the sushi and just having a good time and learning and playing with it. So, yeah.
That's always fun. Sushi is so unique because you can just kind of create and then roll, and then you're good to go.
Exactly.
So that's exciting. All right. Well, on top of everything else, this is just something that you do for fun. You have a full-time gig, you're in marketing, you're doing stuff, obviously content, kind of like we're creating here. And it just seems like this is something that you do for you.
Yes.
And that, and as someone who has found a way to make money with all of my hobbies, that's such a big deal, right? Because you love this, and people can see that when they're here.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. My full-time gig is more helping creators and musicians and business owners sort of like build and hone their content, but this is truly mine. So it's kind of like I get to scratch that creative itch in a different way and with my own sort of passions and interests. So,
well, it's absolutely an amazing experience. If you can get down here, again, we're in downtown Columbia at Lime and Loaf. Check out With Chef Carla on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find out when her classes will be. It's an absolute blast, and Adam does such a great job here at Lime and Loaf, and we appreciate him for allowing us to be in here. You can see all of their cool utensils and this retro mixer here with the Smeg brand. It's really a great place. So you guys come out, hang out with us, and we will see you next week, this week in Southern Middle Tennessee.
Chris and Chef Carla, thank you for that. Chef Carla, I really would love to take one of your cooking classes. Well, stick with us here on Mornings on Main Street. When we come back, Devon O'Day and John Dwyer introduces us to Pastor Derrick Jackson from First Baptist Gallatin. He's doing some wonderful work there. Stick with us because we have more coming up after this.
There's a lot to consider when it comes to choosing a Medicare plan. That's where Health Markets Insurance Agency can help. Independent licensed insurance agents who work with Health Markets can answer your questions about the different parts of Medicare, when you can enroll, benefits, costs, and more. Speak to a local licensed insurance agent today to get started on your Medicare journey.
We also have in-house imaging and physical therapy. Dixon Medical Associates. We specialize in what moves you.
Welcome back. This morning, we're going to share a little bit of Taste of Nashville from when Devon O'Day and John Dwyer sat down with Pastor Derrick Jackson from First Baptist Gallatin. Here's more on their conversation and the amazing work being done there at the church.
Well, we wanted to do something special for Easter, and we're talking about, and when Chris Kulik said, do you know a minister that we can get? I said, I know the minister, the one to get. I love this man's heart. I call him you often because Randy Moore in our company in Gallatin, at the Gallatin News, said, once you hear his voice, no matter what bad is going on in this world, Pastor Derrick Jackson, your voice calms it and makes you feel better about being people.
Amen.
I'm telling you.
He better talk. Read the phone book.
I know. Pastor Derrick Jackson is from the First Baptist Gallatin.
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about how long you've been a pastor, and you really have become a voice of your community when it comes to when things happen, they come to you.
Well, the Lord has blessed me to be at First Baptist Gallatin this October. Will be 22 years. So that's a blessing. The church is over 150 years old. It was birthed in 1865. And so if the Lord says the same, this September, the church will be 158 years old. Wow. And I'm only the sixth pastor in the church's history. Wow. So it's a staple.
When you came 22 years ago, And most people say it doesn't matter what I'm good. I'm in for 3 years, right? I'm in for. Did you see this?
I did.
As a long-time commitment? Did you?
I did.
You do that?
I did. When I got to First Baptist, I knew it would be a long-term pastorate. And I kind of thought in my spirit at least 40 years. So I was 31. When I got to the church, I would be 53 this July. And so I got probably about 19 more years to go.
So you're past the 50-yard line,
Yeah,
but you're not in scoring range
No,
right now.
No.
Well, it's a powerful place to bring people together in Gallatin. I was listening to some stories of the history of Gallatin on NPR, and they were talking about how many important things had happened for desegregation happened in Gallatin. There's a museum actually in the church at First Baptist Gallatin that Miss Velma Brinkley put together, and it's an amazing story. But when we talk about what's going on in our world right now, and you have a message to bring people together, how do you handle that when people ask you about race relations, when they talk about things that have happened in our world? Like, all I can think about is that's heavy on our hearts is the school shooting that just took place. Yeah. They come to you and lay a lot of stuff in your lap and say, give us some words, Pastor. So give us some words, Pastor. This is our Easter show, and we need you.
I think, first of all, that we're all one. I believe that with all my heart. I believe solutions are based on all of us, not just a few of us. I think resurrection is a friendly reminder of endless possibilities. We have the possibility to be reconciled to each other, to be restored, to be liberated. All of that goes together. And we live in the greatest country on the face of the earth that has done the greatest good. So if we can't figure this out, if God can't use us to figure this out, who can he use to figure this out? So I believe in the power of we, all of us. And so that's my message, that Jesus Christ at work in each of us can do anything, regardless of past. And I know that we have a tough, complex past, but we also have in my view, a very good past in all of its complexities. And so even with the school shooting, we got to fix that, deal with that, pray for those families. Mm-hmm. But I believe that what the enemy would love to do is just tear us apart internally, and have us fighting against each other and pointing the finger at each other and demonizing each other, rather than figuring out how do we move forward that's good and healthy for all of God's children.
Your words are so weighted. How do you prepare? Do you have it scripted? Is it's going to come to me? Is it a hybrid? I'm just curious. What is your process for coming together and giving a message that's concise and powerful?
Well, it starts with prayer, of course. Prayer with God, spending quiet time with God, and the Holy Spirit often gives me messages from the Word of God. And of course, I always write down what he gives me, and I always go off script because the Holy Spirit is always
sounds
at
familiar,
work.
doesn't it? Yeah.
At work.
Maybe.
But God is awesome. God is awesome. And if he gives it to us, I believe it's worth writing it down to preserve it.
When are the services on Easter Sunday at First Baptist Church in Gallatin?
8 o'clock Sunday morning and at 10:45 Sunday morning. We're looking forward to a great day. Those days are normally high times at First Baptist Gallatin.
Oh, it's just beautiful. Pastor Derrick Jackson, follow him. And when do you broadcast these on Facebook?
We do.
So you can, wherever you are in the country, you can watch Pastor Derrick Jackson, First Baptist Church. Follow them on Facebook so you can see them live. Thank you so much for your time today. God bless you.
Thank you all. Bless y'all. Bless y'all. Keep doing the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting you.
Good meeting you as well.
Great segment. Thanks, you guys. Stick with us here. When we come back, we're talking how to have the conversation about money with your children.
Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
You really good try. There aren't any cops around.
I didn't think there were any cops around.
I drink and drive all the time.
Sir, you've been in a serious crash. I need you to hang on, okay? Tell me your name, sir. Do you know where you are right now?
Welcome back. We have our favorite financial advisor back with us from Northwestern Mutual this morning. We have Ben Smith, and a really great topic today. So thanks for coming back to talk about talking to your kids about money.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh gosh, anytime. So what's that first, how do we open up that conversation to talk good money practices with kids or teenagers?
Yeah, and that's a really hard one because automatically whenever we think of money, we think of things like saving for retirement and using things like a 401k, and kids don't know what that is, right? I will tell you, having spent about a decade in finance, the biggest realization that I've had is that money behavior trumps money knowledge.
Okay.
And so, you can arm them and explain to them what a Roth IRA is and what a 401k is and, why they should pay their bills. But if you're not influencing their behavior, it's going to be largely for naught. And so that is with our kids, that's something that my wife and I have really put an effort in to emphasize is that behavior management. Now, everyone's heard of that phrase that time is money, right?
Yes.
And those same time management principles applied to money management. Let me give you an example.
Please.
So this morning, we had some kids in our house that really wanted to read their books. They went to a library yesterday afternoon, and this morning, opened them up right after breakfast, but that was wrong. They had chores that they were supposed to do. And so they got to hear one of Dad's frequent sayings, you do what you have to do before you do what you want to do. And so for a kid, that's a really easy, you have to knock out your chores before you do what you want to do, right?
Right.
Well, Saturday is April 1st, and for a lot of people, they're going to receive their first paycheck for the month. And you have to do what you have to do before you do what you want to do.
So you're talking about paying bills at that time or putting that money back before you spend it on something else.
Exactly. Because if you've allocated that money towards what you want to do with it, there may not be money left over for what you have to do with it.
You're right.
Another concept that we've really tried to enforce in our children is that, so they understand it, is that all of their time can be broken down into three main categories: production, education, and consumption. As a parent, I obviously don't want all of my children's waking hours to be focused on consumption or entertainment activities. We want them to be focused on their education.
Right.
We want them to be doing something productive, learning skills. And so, we've taken a little exercise where we spray painted these little balls and different colors, one color for their entertainment or their consumption, one color for their production, one color for their education, and give them 168 balls, and they get to figure out how many hours they spend every week in each one of those categories. It's a really easy way to visualize how your time is being spent. And so for the kids, that emphasis on that time management will absolutely create discipline and behavior that will translate to how they manage their money. The last thing I wanted to point out too is that with kids, whenever they receive money, what do they want to do with it? the same thing that us adults do, right?
Save it?
Well, we want to spend it, right? There's always something that we want.
Right.
And so as soon as we get that money, we want to go out and get that thing that we want. And so with our kids, one of the things that we've reinforced with them is buy some things that will have value. Now, kids don't really like stocks or bonds that much. You know, it's not a fun thing for them to play around with. But one of the things that our kids do love to play with is these little silver rounds. It's pure silver. It has value. And they get to spend money on something that they like. But that thing that they like actually has a value that they will be able to have when they're adults.
Wow, that's amazing and great advice right there. And I hate to say that's kind of where our time goes today. So next time we're going to pick it up with another question talking about, you know, when your teen does have maybe poor money management skills, how you can maybe revisit the topic again to try to get them back on track. So Ben will help us with that next time. Thank you so much for all of that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Stick with us here on Mornings on Main Street. We have more coming up after this.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Welcome back. Well, I do have a special birthday shout out today. It is to my husband, Stephen Miller. He is celebrating his birthday, and I want to wish him the happiest of days and let him know that I cannot wait to celebrate later on this evening. And then also, there are so many events happening, but there is one in Clarksville that I would like to note. If you're in the Clarksville area and you would like to grab coffee, go head over to the Black Rifle Coffee Company. All proceeds from today and tomorrow will go to the families of the 101st Airborne Division soldiers who were killed in the Black Hawk crash on the 29th. I do hope all of you guys have a wonderful and a very happy Easter weekend. Enjoy yourselves, stay safe, and then we'll see you back here Monday morning.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see